Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What is wrong with you?
Anyone is
We're
wrong?
going to be fine. Yeah, you're going to be fine. Don't worry.
I don't know how I am, but I know why is my good leg? Over. Abba,
Like where?
can you see me?
Yeah,
Can you see me?
yeah, I can see you. I have a issue on that's why I can see
I can't hear you. I can barely hear you.
you. So by 5 minutes, I just yes.
Yes, one thing. So what happens when you open it?
So we go in 30 seconds, 22 seconds, 21, 20, 19, 18. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so welcome. Good evening, Mr. Poetic, and welcome everyone to the third discussion for the day or for the entire series and the second discussion for the day. How are you, Poetic?
Yeah, I think I am fine, and I feel great, and it's a pleasure to be here. Uh, kind of tensed, but yeah, yeah, in the moment.
Oh, you do well. I mean, you've stood on a lot of great stages. I'm sure you survive through this anyway. So quickly, tell us about yourself and the kind of writing you do.
Okay, so my name is Lime James. I am a poet, a theater practitioner, and a writer. I have been writing for a very long time, but I am mostly a performing poet. So I write and I perform at the same time. Yeah. And what else about me? I I think that's all I can say about myself, and leave the rest to what nature will have to say.
Okay, that's great. We are very, very, very humbled to have you here, sir. We'll kickstart the conversation or the lecture right away. But do you have any performance for us? Something small, before we start the lecture.
Okay, so I will be sharing with you two poems from my recent collection, Dear Ife, and along the line within uh, the presentation, I will be sharing other poems as well. So this is from Dear Ife, and the title of this poem is Selma, My Alabama. So Dear Ife is a monologue and memories of distant relatives, and I birthed this from a very difficult moment in my life. So this is an excerpt from Dear Ife. Selma, my Alabama. Just in case I don't see you later, this is my honest letter enclosed with a kiss. Your glowing smile has taken up residence in my mind. I waste time stargazing as your memories go by, but you live endlessly in your said goodbye. For lack of descriptive lines, let's simply say I am obsessed with being you and us. I know we said our love is age and closer, that perhaps we will feel as new, clearer from a distance. But if I am being honest, I miss a familiar voice that was my personal hug. I miss the beauty of your heart. If I am being honest, you live on the pains and tears on my chest. Cause Selma, my Alabama. Ever since you left, I have been drenched by loneliness. When I talk about you to myself, sad happiness fearlessly trend on my emotions. I dance nakedly before your memory. Our memories, I do not know what it means. Perhaps I am losing my mind that I wasn't for you. Ever since you left, life is busy not making sense. And it feels you put a spell on me. But Selma, my Alabama. Sometimes I try to heal for you to see me like you don't remember and love me like the way you loved us. But just in case I don't see you later, this is my honest letter enclosed with a kiss. Maybe I will learn to live without you for a while and still be a ring away. You are my Selma, my Alabama, my city. So for the sake of energy, let me just share this poem. Then we can kick off. And along the line, I'll be sharing other poems with you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. So as I said, I wrote this poem from a very difficult moment in my life. I lost my brother to a very an unfortunate death. He bravely took his life, and so the the poems in Dear Ife are poems that uh, were investigated uh, from his from his life, and so it's a I think 13, 14 poems or so, and I will be I will be releasing the audio aspect of it with Gen Records, and also I will be putting out the script as well. So you can, wherever you are, you can find a copy of it, and it will come in a paper bag and ebook, and also the voice aspect of it will come on Spotify, AudioMac, and other platforms. On the subject that I am supposed to handle today, and the subject of poetic language, the meaning of style in poetry and interpretation. That's the subject I will be talking about today. And I have a personal conviction which I'm going to introduce here, but I am going to speak to you in one person on this subject. That is, I am going to speak to you uh, as a person in the caliber of experience, because I am convicted that it is this experience that led me here to speak with you, and not uh, the academia aspect of me. Because if we are if we are to deal with academia, then I believe I am not eligible to be in this position to share uh, my thoughts about this subject. So regarding poetic language and the meaning of style in poetry, I am sharing with you my own orchestrated opinions, which I hope would be honest and practical, and also serve as a landmark for my personal thinking. And so these are my own thoughts that I will be sharing with you. I believe in every school or in every field, there is an intellectual tradition, and art is not different. When you go to the school of science, they have a school of thought or an intellectual tradition. And these are formed from perspectives of a class or group of people to define the standards of a discipline, what it should be and may not. And so poetry that we all know uh, also uh, is under a school of thought, meaning there are people or there are and like people have formulated what poetry should be and what it shouldn't be. But with me, looking at how divine the art is, I prefer to say that poetry must not undergo or line up to definitions, to be precise, styles. That's to my own belief and viewing from how divine poetry is. I feel doing this or just giving poetry a style means you are subjecting our immortal emotions and thoughts on a on a rigorous road where humanity and feelings must breathe in a certain way. You cannot define emotions, and so I feel you cannot define poetry or let poetry undergo a particular style. I am not saying that poetry should not be classified under styles. That's not what I'm saying. The school of thoughts can go ahead and opine their own definitions, their own styles. They are helpful. The reason why I am saying they are helpful is that these poetic languages or these styles, they come to help you visualize the world made in the poem in a certain way. Yeah, so visualization just helping you to visualize the poem in a certain way. And also, I think uh, these poetic languages they create a new narrative to what had been said already, making old images come alive to help reflect new understanding. The Bible says there is nothing new under the sun, and I feel poetry styles or the poetic languages they help you to redefine what is old under the sun and give it a new narrative. So the reason for poetic language and the reason for a style to me. And I feel sometimes they are there to help you clothe the nakedness of empty truth. They help you to they help the poet or the writer uh, to cover up certain harsh words or harsh sentences. I'll share with you an experience on this and I'll read a poem in relation to this. About a month ago, I was invited to share a poem at the Parliament House of Ghana. There was an exchange forum program that was held, and I was invited to share a poem on that stage. There, you carry an anger in you that you are taking to them because poetry is political, is social, and all that. So once you are on that stage, you are there to uh, rant. You are there to to pour out yourself, the deep things that you've seen on in the society. You are there to share them with them. And these are political figures. These are people who are powerful in and if you carry words barefooted before them, I believe me, we are going to have a problem. I am not saying they must not be raw, but these poetic devices or these poetic languages, being figurative, being the diction that it is written in, they come in to help you carry the message to such an audience. So there was a poem I shared with them. The title of the poem is Abiola, My Frenemy. It's on my album Untitled Country. So Abiola, My Frenemy, I believe uh, is a very political piece, but the language of the piece is very uh, it's not satire, but it very free and very fair, and I think it's turned upside down. So instead of the words to be straightened up, I just turned everything upside down. And so you listen to the poem, there it will sound, oh, okay, that's it's cool. But the behind the scene of the poem will help, like will put you on your knees for you to reflect on the content of the poem. Abiola, my frenemy, I will be uh, sharing with you that poem, and you see the language of it I am talking about. And I believe the poetic languages used in it helped me to convey such a message to such an audience. The last thing I will talk about why poetic language or why the need for poetic language is they sometimes invoke and engage the reader's own experiences and interpretation into the poem. And I think this often occurs in the jurisdiction of the poet. The reason why I'm saying that is when you go to when you go to South Africa, that's where I have been before. So let me use that as an example. The poems that are written there are mostly subject of the kind of feelings or the kind of language spoken by the people there, how they construct their sentences, how they talk to each other, and how they let me say how they communicate. And so all their works or all the diction of their poems, the diction of their was the poetic languages used there are very in line with the everyday life of the people. And so if you come to Ghana, I have not done a constructive study about it, but the very few I have come across in the likes of Potra Santua, Anasase, Mutombo, you have this understanding that it is also geared towards the language of the people, the language in the sense of how it is structured, the diction, how the sentences are all constructed. It is just toward the basic understanding of the people. And so sometimes these styles are used so that the reader or the listener is engaged in the poem. So I think that to me, that's the need for poetic language. I came across something. Is that poets don't include poetic language because they want to make their poems sound complicated or hard to understand. Instead, they use these tools to help you wake up, pay attention, and look at the world in new ways. And I really sit with this that they are just devices or they are just serving as an attention instrument, something that is to engage you and help you reflect on the poem. So that's the need for this poetic uh, language. I I prepared a whole note for this, but I will be speaking with you from my heart. Where we have got into, I will be speaking with you from my heart. That I believe poetic language is just there to help us interpret poems in the very best language that we understand. But this is my own submissions, or these are my own submissions. To me, the the school of poetry must not subject all poems under a constructive steady, that it didn't have rhymes, it did not have what is it, a personified thing. It wasn't personified. There's no oxymoron, no alliteration, or that. I feel we are orchestrating our emotions. We are defining what is deep inside us. And so it must not be touched with fire. That touching it with fire means you are trying to how do I put this? You are trying to cover up the thing for you to make sweet, or for you to look gold. Yes, there is a golden aspect of it, but how the work comes to the poet is the most important thing that we should focus on. How the poem comes to the poet. I think we are mostly inclined to structuring the poems when we are documenting it. That I think that is when the definitions of poetic devices and the poetic styles come in. It comes in when you are going on more like you are documenting the whole thing, because poetry is a voice. To me, it is a voice. It comes to you. Now it's either you write, or it's either you write it out, or it sticks inside you, and if you're a performer you speak it out. Even with that, there's still room for you to pen it down, or write it some, or archive it somewhere. Poetic devices or these styles come in when I think you are submitting it for for an academic purpose, or for a particular set of audience. That's when this work, because let's assume, let's take these lines. The government left his brains in the market. The government is a fool. The government is the gov. You see, these are just sentences. The government left his thoughts at the market. The government is a fool. The government has no room to think. The government thinks out loud but silently. These are all sentences. And if I am just saying them, but if I am to write them into poetry and document it, once you write that sentence, now you are left with two things: either to touch it and use uh, the poetic languages, the onomatopoeia, the oxymorons, the figurative aspect of everything in poetry, then you use them to touch it for you to feel in a particular way. But some people are geared towards the rhyme aspect of poetry, the personal, the exaggeration aspect of it, to making it uh, huge, like complicated in that way. And sometimes they lose the quality of the art, because once you condition yourself, that's the word I have been. Once you condition yourself that this thing should fall within this lane, once you condition yourself, other factors come in. Now you begin to think, so this thing I'm writing, what will people say about it? Won't people love it this way? When are they not going to appreciate it more when the sentence is that way? When I You see, so you end up pleasing audience than writing the best of you, or giving the best out of you. This is a poem I wrote. Is an outro on Untitled Country. I wrote I wrote this poem, and I ended at the first draft. This is the poem. The poem is like Untitled Country. Mm, 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 mm. The unspoken truth is we live in a wretched country. The government is no friend today, and if tomorrow, it doesn't matter. We are only here to be used and be thrown away. Truth is, hold not your eyes ajar at the city, for everyone's wearing something empty. At least your mother will have a look at you, and certainly you will never finish listening to your shame. That's Untitled Country. Now, this poem, when this poem came to me, I wrote it. I wrote it. And after writing it, I wanted to expand it. I wanted to, like, because it when it came to me, I didn't understand it. When it came to me, I did not understand it. All I know is the government is no friend today, and if tomorrow, it doesn't matter. But we are only here to be used and be thrown away. But truth is, hold not your eyes ajar in the city. For everyone is wearing something empty. At least your mother will have a look at you. I was trying to break everything down so that at least if a layman takes the poem, he or she will understand it and they need. But I tried and tried and tried. This poem didn't give itself the room to to breathe more. So it just ended there. So let's imagine I am to open up this poem. I'm not coming to explain myself what your mother is, what this thing is, what this thing is, what this thing is. Even the rhyme scheme, I'll now consider what words should rhyme with mother. And you see, when you throw yourself the, like strictly to define your art in the school of poetry, you end up losing the value of the art. So sometimes you have to let the work be just as it came to you, unless it did not come to you by divine. With that, I think you have the permission. I'm not even the right person to give you permit. You just have to just go ahead and have it done in that way. But if it came to you by divine, I I believe the creator has his way of letting it be part of those that have defined the art. The creator will have a way to let it be fixed there. There's something that I need to say, that when it comes to style of writing and the meaning it makes in poetry, every poet and his or her style, and it takes time for these styles to be exhibited. Sometimes you might not know, and everything, if you followed the school of thought to write a poem, or you didn't follow to write a poem, at the end of the day, it is going to be classified under something, or it is going to have the poem is going to have classifications. So that one I won't take that one out. But it takes time for the styles to be yours or to become yours. I have been writing for the past 7 years. It all started as a debater, yeah, way back in senior high school. uh, Debate script along, like in alongside performing poems of other people, and I discovered along the way that I have the gift, the voice to also stipulate my own thoughts about social and political issues, to the extent like emotions, things that are very deep inside me. And let me state on record, I have not been to any art school. I have not taken. I didn't do literature in senior high school. I'm just a free, a free-minded person. I just write. It comes, I write. It comes, I write. Yeah. So if it comes to style, it varies with time because the poems I wrote yesterday are very different from the poems I'm writing today, and I will write in the next uh, life I have ahead. So it takes time for these things, these styles to be recognized, and everyone has a style. What I am just saying is you must, you must not constrict yourself to let it fall under a particular style. Uh, The reader will interpret his own experiences from what he or she is reading. So you just let it be for the reader to interpret it in his or her own way. One, there are poems you write that you must, let's say, perhaps submit it to uh, for publication, submit it for publication. That they will send you the requirement. It has to follow this, it has to follow that, it has to be this, it has to be that. I have read a few contemporary poems, and when you look at the structure, they are very different, very different. The likes of Kofi Awono, Kofi Anidowu, all that. So the question is, then they are all different. So my question is, you as the writer, you as the poet, what are you going to be known for? On what style are you also going to be known for tomorrow? That is the most important thing. What are you also going to be known for tomorrow? If you constrain yourself to the school or the intellectual tradition of poetry, tomorrow they will count you among the masses. That's how it is going to be. Oh, he, he was writing just like these people, then you are amongst them. But there are some there are some people that we've read their works that you can't count them among anything after Shakespeare. Who are you going to classify Shakespeare under? But people are classified under Shakespeare. So that is the most important thing. Awono, Anido, who Ladewosonu, these poets, you can't create a box and put all of them in. They are these are all different writers, and they all come with different, and it takes time. It takes time, and it took them also time for them to also recognize that this is what we write. This is what our poems are about. So if if you ask me about poetic language, the meaning of style in poetry and interpretation, to me, they help. That I cannot take that one out. But they must not be uh, the standard. Nah, this is how it should be. That one, okay, maybe you can force the other poet, but with me, I am I have my different perspective about that. I will be sharing another poem with you. Then I'll speak about my work. I have two collections that I have done. I'll speak about the style of these two things. And I must say, sometimes I have no idea about these styles. I, if you wake me up and you ask me to some of the literary devices, you ask me to define them. To be honest, I won't. I won't be able to define unless the ones that are very common, our, our ordinary uh, lit, literature, basic literature made us aware of. With those ones, I can just define them and go. But the big ones, I honestly can't define them, because if they are there, then by divine, they are all going to be designed in your poems or in your works. Yeah, I have come across a lot of rejections. I submitted a poem, it was rejected. Some it was rejected, but I have also received some recommendations as well. That, oh, your work is good, your work is this, your work is that. So in everywhere we find ourselves, some are going to accept the work just as it is. Some are going to accept it the way you pen them out. And you must also understand that some are not going to accept it. There are some, they are more uh, inclined on the academic path now. Oh, this is how it should be, this is how it should go. I am I stated that I am more like a performing poet. You know, I'm a performing poet. And so sometimes if you read my poems, if I write a poem and you read it, it's I think it is some way. I don't know how what way it is, but it is some way. But if I perform it out, it is it's also different to you. You see, so in the writing field, I I do not constrain myself to let it fall on the intellectual tradition, because I will take that one and come and perform it for you to have a feel of it. Now, how do I put these emotions that I'll be performing in a written way for you to also feel the same way? So if I am writing it, I write it just as I am presenting it, or just as I will present it. So you find long sentences. There are some very short sentences and all that, but I write long sentences, this and all that. So my performing aspect of it is different from my written aspect, but not very different. I tried my best to let you hear or see my emotions in the written aspect. I will be sharing this poem with you. Is is from Dear Ife. So this is Dear Ife. Yeah, Dear Ife. I'll be sharing a poem from Dear Ife with you, and then I will pick other poems from Untitled Country and share them with you, so that you get the two styles or the two poetic languages that are all in this particular poem. So okay, so this is Ode to a part of me. I'm reading from Ode to a part of me. Ode to a part of me. I know just when you thought you have poured yourself into love and memory, you heard your friend saying she has found someone new. Not long, your brother too bravely went down as a coward. Next, grandma died, and yourself, you are still recovering from a mob attack. It seems nightmares have crippled your city dreams, and you feel you are dancing hard on a tattered river. And me too, I have been scared on my own, stuck in the dark trying to stay in the moment. My night is bent, my hope is wavy. There are times I see the sun blind on me. I keep falling apart like you inside, but I have done my best to do consolations myself. And if I am being honest, it is not like I am trying to live forever. There are different levels of death kneeling inside me. If it is to be, someday you will see in my eyes. But I want you to know we will return to us again when we make it alive and you cannot hear the cloud. Do not take yourself to the waters, for my heart will be on you like it has always been. So pour, if you can, but always meant, and come home with your flaws. And if it happens that you sink with yourself exposed in the rain, I hope you never become baptized with your memories. And if it happens that you remember, don't keep records of the river. And if there is any uncertainty, I hope freedom sits in between your unsteady city. So this is from Dear Ife, and it's titled Ode to a Part of Me. So I do not want to review this poem, but something I will say about it is the flow is not it's not under any, I don't know, it's not under any school of poetry. Rhyme where I can't find rhymes. I can't. What else? Okay, okay. There are other poetic languages in there, but the purpose of the poem is for you to understand it, and for me to also pour myself out in the work. So I I was just writing it as it was coming out from me, and after writing it, probably you end up finding, oh, simple literary devices, simple literature devices, and simple poetic languages. Yes, that's why I said if it is by divine, then the divine being will know how to let it fall under under the work. So this is ode to a part of me. Some of the lines very, yeah, I have been scared on my own, stuck in the dark, trying to stay in the moment. My night is bent, my hope is wavy. I think these are some literary devices that poetic languages I would know. And as I said, I I was writing to help you understand. Or I wrote this to help you understand. And so that is the purpose of it. And the devices used here are in there to help you visualize the world in this poem, to help you interpret the writer's emotions in your own language. So that is Odetu a part of me. I think I'll share another one. Let me find one that I think I strictly edited it. Let me, yeah. I'm not saying we don't edit our works, but there are works that often you don't touch them after the first draft. Maybe you just check your grammar and all that. But okay, mm, yeah, yeah. This the beginning of God ends here. This poem went under a serious. It went under a serious editing because there are few words from my brother's letter that he left. So I think they went under a very serious uh, editing. Let me see. Yeah, editing. But thanks to the creator, I didn't drown my emotions at first. That grateful enough, it was intact. So the beginning of God ends here. My dear brothers and sisters, I write you what I have thought to say before the beginning of my God ends here. It is the only way to appreciate our memories. Those I tried to mend out of me but got broken among witnesses. I am by the rivers to capsize my heart. watching Earth pass me by. Today I take leave tonight with the dark, and I admit I traded our beginning in rough months. Now I face loud regret silently within. Scars keep smiling at me with deep sad tears before my very eyes. Somehow I cannot escape the longevity of pain. I think all I have got is time and hope, but time seems to waste my hope, and hope is a waste of my time. I am living that you survive with love, but engrave this suicide number across my gravestone. Maybe it is the hope to live that made me want to die. I think I will be better alone. Yeah, this is the beginning of God ends here, and I I needed this poem for something. So when I was submitting it for something. So when I was submitting it, I read the requirements. I was like, okay. Sometimes you have to accept the school and just let give it to them just as they want, but make sure you don't drown the emotions of the poem after following the poetic uh, language and the style. Yeah, so yeah, I subjected a poem under a very serious editing. Should be this way to read it, like I am by the rivers to capsize my heart. I was like, oh, it was there. That's good. That's yeah, because that is all that the person in this poem. That is what the person was going through. He was going to pour himself into the rivers and uh, just yeah dive into the waters and just that's all. So I was like, okay, then let's go this way. Uh, it's the only way to appreciate our memories. Those I tried to mend out of me, but got broken among witnesses. Yes, um, the person in the poem, he was trying to uh, redeem the past, the things that he has gone through. He was trying to redeem let me say the shame that has occurred. He was trying to redeem uh, himself so that people will see that, oh, yeah, after all, he has done well. But even in the course of that, they all got broken. Like it was still becoming pieces. Like he tried, he tried and tried and tried, and it wasn't working. So the only way to appreciate our memories, those I tried to mend out of me, like but got broken among witnesses. You see, initially these are not the lines. These are not the lines that let me see, these are not the lines that came. They were some phrases and all that. But after subjecting it into constructive uh, school, this is what it graduated, yeah, to be. So that's it for Dear Ife. I I would like to take a break and I'll come. I think I have like 10 minutes and I'll close it up. Yeah, I would like to take a break and take if there are any questions, then I'll take them. Yeah, so thank you. And I will be playing a video. Those watching us on YouTube, I will be playing a video. This is a poem from uh, one of the renowned poets in Ghana. He's of blessed memory, though. But I did performance. I performed his poem. I think just look at the language of that, the language used in that poem, and see how different this, how well he owned his own language. So I was just the performer. So you hear the poem in my voice. It wasn't written. Yeah. So you can enjoy this poem. Yeah, I did this poem with the Notepad Poetry in South Africa. And shout outs to them. Yeah, they sent the footage, and we were taken there by Gen Records and Great Thing Institute. Thanks to them. So enjoy this poem. I will use it. I will speak about it when I come back. This it is already too late, said Oberika sadly. Our own men and our sons have joined the ranks of the stranger. Yeah, this is an excerpt. This is an excerpt from Things Fall Apart. Yeah, I'll be playing Ofi Anido's poem, but this is an excerpt from Things Fall Apart. So I think you can look at the structure of it. It is not a poem, but just look at the structure of it, and we'll come back. They have joined his religion and they help to uphold his government. If we should try to drive out the white men from Imofia, we should find it easy. Yes. There are only two of them. Out of our own people who are following their way and have been given power, they will go to Umoro and bring the soldiers, and we will be like Abame. Yes. He paused for a long time and then said, I told you on my last visit to Mbanta how they hanged Aneto. What has happened to that piece of land in dispute? Asked Okonko. Yeah. The white man's court has decided that it should belong to Minama's family, who have given much money to the white man's messengers and interpreter. Does the white man understand our custom about land? Never. Then how can he, when he does not even speak our tongue, but he says that our customs are bad? Yes! Why? And our own people who have taken up his religion also say that our customs are bad. How do you think we can fight when our own brothers have turned up against us? The white man is very clever. He came peaceably and quietly with his religion. We were amused at his foolishness and allowed him to stay. Now he has won our brothers, and our clan can no longer act like one. He has put a knife on the things that held us together. And we have fallen apart. So that is an excerpt from Things Fall Apart. All right, so that was an excerpt from Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. And if you listened to how it was structured, how the language of that novel was structured, very concise, direct, nothing huge, like I don't know how to put. I want to I want to do a slam. I want to slam on something that is very huge. In the genesis of the world, and it came under a great sound. I don't know. I'm actually not a fan of. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm actually not a fan of these big like poetic languages hitting back for no, I'm actually not a fan, so I don't even know how to coin one. Yeah, but it's all good. It's all good. It is all part. But as I said, when you listen to this, you see the message is clear, the diction is clear, the structure is on point. What needs to be done is being done in when you listen to these lines, and that is what it means to me. Yes. So if you can use the poetic language, the poetic styles to carry the message and let the audience understand, applies to you, go ahead. Yes. But sometimes ask yourself, what is the essence of it if my audience are not going to understand it? Or the very people I am writing for are not going to understand it, then what is the essence? And so, as I said, sometimes they invoke the reader's interpretation within a jurisdiction. And so you look at the jurisdiction and you look at uh, what style you have to use. I'll take a break and go to the moderator and we receive questions and yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for that insightful and entertaining presentation. There be recital in between, and it felt very personal, in the sense that you made examples and discussed the poem, the topic based on your poems, which is very good. And an interesting performance at the Notepad Poetry back in South Africa, where shout outs and noise and everything. I mean, as usual, the crowd always loves you. Anyway, so there is one question. There has been. I just want us to have a short discussion and a short insight on some kind of a present debate, in the literary space, specifically poetry, about the whole conversation about modern poetry, and then, or should I say, contemporary poetry, and then the poetry of old, where current poetry seems to not have a bit, doesn't have structure, or doesn't have some of these elements that these old poems had. Talk of the standard or the style, talk of the rhyme scheme, talk of some poetry these days are just plain, as someone might put it. So doing this juxtaposition with these two poems, some people believe that poems of today or modern poetry don't have literary elements or don't have stylistic elements, as our conversation is. Um, what is your thoughts, or what are your thoughts on this particular piece of debate, or this? Where do you stand with this session, and why?
Thank you so much, and yeah, and shout outs to the Notepad Poetry. Their voice, their chants, and all that. They are very great people. Yeah. With my thoughts about modern poetry and against the traditional poetry, and people saying uh, the modern poetry, I know, I think we have no rules in them. Yeah, they deserve to say that they yeah they is their own definitions and their own things they are saying. They deserve to own that. Yeah. But first, let's let's deal it this way. Let's deal it this way. Who who defined traditional poetry? Who defined it? And two, who? is eligible to define modern poetry. I think with the traditional poetry, it took it took time for them to say, okay, so these are the elements of traditional poetry. It took a steady like people studied this and that, and they put like their thoughts together that okay, this is traditional poetry. What makes traditional poetry different from modern poetry? To me, I don't think it is the style. That's to me. The problem is we of age, we have not, I think our thoughts about the art, our thoughts about the art is scattered. They are all scattered. So don't you think if we come together, we can write definitions for modern poetry based on a study? Like we can study, is it Sule Breaks, is it Poetry Santra? You can pick their work, study them, pick a lot of works, put them together instead, and write a whole, a whole, what is it? A whole article, a whole research paper about it to say, okay, this is. Then we give it a meaning. I think we can do that. I think modern poetry has a language. It has a language. It has a school of thought, or it has a traditional intellect, but it has not been orchestrated. Let me. It has not been written, or it has not been uh, given name. We have not had a naming ceremony for it. Traditional poetry is not different from what is poetry. Poetry is a way of birthing life out of you. And if you are writing now, or if you are doing poetry now, you're also birthing life out of you. Why should it be defined? Why should it be called modern and traditional? They're all poetry. So yes, the I understand the reason why it is called modern is because of the age. The reason why it is called traditional is because of the age before the World War II and all that. Yes, it's perfect for us to classify them as modern and traditional. But if you look at the modern poetry, it has a language. It also has a language. It picks the language from the antique, and also it picks the language of age. Poetry evolves with time, and along the line modern poetry will also be given an identity, or so forget that it is not there are punctuation. I am writing my feelings. Just concentrate on my feelings and leave your punctuations out. Read it as you want to read it, in your best language, in the best emotions that you best understand it. Read it that way. So that's if you ask me about modern poetry and not having, think with time it will be defined. So let it be. Yeah, over to you. I think these are my thoughts about it.
Yeah, very, very, very insightful, very insightful. And that, as you said, I mean, that is one way to answer it. And these are conversations about two different school of thoughts. So that is what I'm saying. That is one way to answer it anyway. And you are right, from your angle. You see, trends do change, right? Trends comes and trend go. And even with traditional poetry, you do realize that from the Shakespearean era, coming down, you know, there have been different types of and different era in poetry coming, and then to the poetry of the Victorian era. I mean, you can mention a lot of them. You know, nature poetry, different kinds of poetry, and you realize that each of them do come with different style, and it keeps getting different. Their style of writing keeps on changing as these era do come. So I don't think it's good, or it's a good idea to think or to say that modern poetry or contemporary poetry lacks literary elements or can't be classified as poems, but rather, as you
Yeah,
said, a study should be done on them. Gather a number
yeah,
of them and do a research to come up with, just as those were entrenched and identified and recognized as poetry of then times, talk of the aesthetic poetry and all those things coming down to all poems, the poems of the 19th century, you know, or postmodernist poetry and all those poems. I mean, it took someone to sit down and study the kind of
yeah.
the common trends. It took someone to sit
In
down
that,
and go like, okay, so these are the defining features of poetry within this period of time, because then we
mm,
realize that after World War II, the kind of things or the kind of way people write is changing because they are writing to reflect their reality. So someone sat
mm,
down and saw these trends in them, saw these common um, um, defining features in them, and decided, okay, so then during this particular era, from this year to this year, this type of poetry came up, and then named it postmodernist poetry, and all that. So I think, as you said, someone has to, or some research has to be done, to further entrench the presence of modern poetry, which sort of breaks all conventional rules. And that is one thing. So it breaks all conventional rules, strict form, strict structure, strict. And if you study them and you go through them, you do realize they do have literary elements. They do have style in them. They do
yeah,
have different
yeah,
features made up,
yeah.
of the poem. So thank you very
That
much
you
for
can't take
that.
that one out. Yeah, you can't take that
Yeah,
one
thank you
out
very
from
much. There
from
is
it.
always an element in there that's it's poetry.
Yeah,
I mean, you just have to
yeah,
look closer and you find it. So that's very
yeah.
good. I think my last but two questions, my last but one, sorry, that would be how you come up with your poetry. You know, briefly your process. Does it just come to you? I know you always or sometimes talk about the divine, which is also very interesting. So, how does it come about? How do your words come about?
Okay. How my poems come about? Yeah, I believe in God Almighty. And I believe He is the beginning of all words and all things that we feel within. So He gives out the emotions to you. That so one, I mostly listen to my soul. I mostly listen to my soul, what it feels and what it wants to say, or it wants to author out. But then also so that's one, the divine aspect of it, listening to my inner soul, and yeah, and birthing what it feels. And two, I love music. I enjoy music. So sometimes I get inspirations from music. I get storylines from music. Then so it's not. It's like I'm trying to continue what uh, the the music story is. I'll continue from there. And the third aspect of it is my society. I watch, I listen, I come across a whole lot of news. Yeah, so I write. If I hear news, then I have an opinion. Then I'll tap into it and write my opinions as well. Yeah, but sometimes, and let me say often, yeah, I believe often, most of the sentences I write them from the very innermost part of me. That yeah, I write them. Let me see. There was a time I was talking with this friend. I told her we are not ordinary. Let me just put it that way, that we are not ordinary, because you can't find where sentence is coming from, but it just came out of you, bam, and that's all. You have the story. So that's something that's it happens to me. The sentence will just shrink out of me. Then that is all. And I listen to people. I listen to people speak, and not people who speak just carnal conversations. I enjoy the conversation of people who think, people who 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 tell you a sentence that you feel, yes, this is something I really need. Imagine talking to someone, the person telling you this is where the beginning of God ends. Like, what? It's something. It's something. I can't tell you what it is, but it is something. So you listen to people who speak good conversations, people who have a way with words. And so, yeah, to me, the divine uh, music, and listening and reading the news, and engaging in political things and social things, they help me to draft my words, and mostly listening to conversations of people with deep sentences. Yeah, they they help me with. So I'll share with you before I take your last question. I'll share with you a poem. Yeah, I'll share with you a poem that was supposed to be a religious poem, but ended up being another thing. And the thing is, I wrote this poem about 2 years ago. Yeah, it was first called Part-Time Citizens 2 years ago. But I recorded it uh, this year. I recorded it last year. Yes, I was last year or this year. Yeah, and when this poem was birthed, it was for something else. It was just a sentence someone told me. It was just a sentence someone told me, and I wrote. It was supposed to be for church. Right, ended up becoming something else. And the purpose of the poem, still, it has a purpose, and it will have purpose. I believe it will have purpose in the next century, millennium, or yeah, it will still have a purpose. But something happened this year, and that thing defined the poem. So the poem, it topped. I checked on my stats, and the poem was on top. That particular poem was on top because the poem now reflected into a situation that it was not even like it was just it. I don't know. Well, let me share that poem with you. It's it's titled. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, Audio Mac. It's Beatitudes. Beatitudes. We who wear thoughts of others like a suit and tie, part-time citizens, daytime criminals. Here is water for the seed we sow to grow the church. Here are prayers we pray for heaven contractors to come clear our city gutters. Blessed be our politicians, blessed be their sacred tongues, blessed be their holy lives, blessed be their priceless vows, blessed be the citizen, blessed be his toothless courage, blessed be our spectators, blessed be their silence, blessed be smiles that weep at dawn, blessed be hands that lend us strength for enough time, blessed be tears that ignore the cry, blessed be our pastorpreneurs, blessed be their prophecies, blessed be the church for erecting fear in the heart of our mother. Blessed be the Jubilee for pulling down the balls of our father. Blessed be us, we who wear thoughts of others like a suit and tie, part-time citizens, daytime criminals. We who wear gray hairs yet seek breast milk. May posterity read us like figures, part-time citizens, daytime criminals. Okay, so that's part-time citizen or beatitudes, and you can have your own. So in it is in relation to the question you asked. This poem, this particular one, came to me from a conversation about it was church, and this poem came. But you see how it has become. So sometimes that's how through conversations and all that. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Now, last question. We all know the kind of work you've done. Um, how you have just taken poetry to a lot of places, climbing big stages and all that, and you're traveling outside the country for poetry. So, I would like to know what advice would you have for someone, who is now picking poetry and would want to also go somewhere with it.
My advice, I honestly, this is a heavy tax on me because I'm still learning. I'm still learning. I'm still on the process. I have not discovered it all. So it's answering this is very difficult for me. But what what I can say is believe in your voice. Don't let society despise you and like and throw you on a on a platform that this what you are writing. Well, no, 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 no. Believe in your voice and carry what you have. Just own it and always put in your best. Yeah, consistency is key. Be very consistent. Take a break, take a rest if it comes. Yeah, if you need rest, go and have it. But even as you rest, listen to your voice and keep on being you. I am still on a journey, defining and redefining myself and my art. So if tomorrow I get a new advice, I will bring that one as well. But for now, this is what I can I can say. Let's hope I get a new advice tomorrow. I'll share that one. Yeah, with you and don't forget to read, like read anything, read anything. Yeah, read. It will help because to become good as a poet, I would say will be from how well you read. Yeah, so read, read. Thank you.
Yeah. So for reading, we can't overemphasize the importance of reading as a creative enough. Read other poets, read other books, just read. That's good. Thank you very much, Mr. Lamar James, popularly known as Mr. Poetivist. Thank you very
Yeah,
much for gracing our event today. We're very grateful to have you. Thank you very much,
it's
and
a
we look
pleasure.
forward to having you here to have more conversation. Until
I
then,
hope.
keep writing and keep inspiring us with your words. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming. Bye.
I appreciate it. Bye.